So, hey, welcome back to Accelerated Real Estate Investor. I'm your host, Josh Cantwell. Today, we're going to talk again about operational risk. And one of the operational risks that we're going to discuss is seasonality. We're going to talk about that today on the next episode. Here we go.
Welcome to the Accelerated Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you're looking to retire early with forever passive income, you're in the right place. This podcast is the go-to destination for real estate investors, both active and passive, and multifamily apartment investors, both new, intermediate, and advanced. Now, sit back, listen, learn, and accelerate your business, your life, and your investing with the Accelerated Investor Podcast.
All right, so we're back. I'm so excited to be with you. Thanks so much for subscribing, rating, and reviewing the Accelerated Investor Podcast. Would love to talk about multifamily on this show. And today we're going to talk about operational risk, which is seasonality. Okay, so let me explain what I mean. In different parts of the country, you have different seasons. Of course, in the South, you have the snowbirds that come in between Christmas and Easter. That's a season, okay? Also in the South, you have the hurricane season, okay? Obviously in the Southwest, you have the hot season, the dry season, where it's 100+ degrees in Arizona and parts of Nevada, Las Vegas, Southern California. In the Midwest, where I do a lot of investing in the greater Ohio, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati areas, you have the season of the snow, okay, especially in the Cleveland area. And so one of the operational threats to your business and to your investments that you have to be aware of is this seasonality, which has a lot to do with the weather, okay? And so one of the things that we're managing right now is that we've realized in our portfolio of owning this for the last 4, 5, 6 years is that if we have renewals, here's a perfect example. If we have renewals that are taking place in October or November, and somebody is getting a renewal notice, and we're trying to bump that rent by $50, $100, $200, and we send them a renewal letter, and they decide to move out in October, November. Well, guess what happens in December? Yep, Christmas, the holidays, okay? And when people get their Christmas trees up, okay, in, let's say, early December, and they're going to celebrate the holidays, how many of them do you think want to move out? Okay, so if we then go into the new year, January 1st, how many people do you think want to move out or move into an apartment on January 1st? Not too many. And then in the greater Cleveland area, one of our seasonality operational threats is that February is our worst month of snow that we get all year. Okay, it's always the worst. It's always the coldest. We get the most snow. Best month is August. Coldest month is February. And so how many people do you think want to move in a foot of snow and 20-degree weather, below, zero sometimes with the wind chill, right? People don't really want to move. So we've realized this threat of seasonality between December 1st and March 1st that very few people want to move. So if we have a unit that becomes vacant in November, okay, we could be marketing really hard through apartments.com and Craigslist ads and through Facebook Marketplace and open houses and open house signs and, resident referral letters and resident referrals where they can get a credit off their rent if they refer us another, resident. All these things we could be doing, and still those units won't lease out. Okay. Why? People just don't want to move during Christmas. They just don't want to move when it's super cold outside. Okay. And so one of the things we've done is we've started for the last couple of years, moving all of our renewals into Q2 and Q3. Okay. Basically from April 1st through the end of September, okay, we want all of our leases to renew. That's when the leases expire. So when we sign people up on a lease, we'll do a 13-month lease or a 14-month lease or a 15-month lease so that their lease will expire basically from March 1st through September 30th. Okay, because even if it expires on September, we can still turn the unit, get the unit released in October, and have people move in November, and then they can basically stay in that unit. But what we've also realized that if somebody has a lease that's coming up and it's going to expire on December 1st and they decide to move out, we're going to have a hard time. Even if we turn that unit, we're going to have a very hard time leasing that unit out and filling it in December, January, and February. Again, Christmas, New Year's, snow, right? So you have to be very aware as you create your business plan with your multifamily assets. You have to be very aware of this real niche operational threat, which is seasonality. Again, a lot of it having to do with certain times of the year, the weather, maybe there's certain events or functions, maybe there's certain festivals that happen in your market where more people come in, more people vacation, more people are moving. Okay, all these different types of things. And I would much rather deal with all of the move outs, renewals, move outs, move ins, and unit turns. I would much rather deal with that in the summer. I'd much rather have our construction company from March 1st until September 30th when the weather's great. You know, it's easy to navigate. It's easy to move people in, move people out, turn units, buy materials, store it, and not have to fight the snow and fight the weather and fight the, Christmas holidays. I'd much rather do that than have units come due and somebody moves out December 1st. Then we've got to turn the unit. And then guess what happens? People are taking vacation time over Christmas. And then so contractors are out and workers are out and everybody's taking their vacation time. And it's really hard to get everybody working on the same level at the same pace those last 2 weeks of December because of Christmas.
Are you ready to automate and explode your real estate investing? We're searching for extremely motivated individuals who are sick and tired of wasting time and want to finally see real results from their real estate investing business. We're searching for investors looking to get to the next level and become a bigger, better version of themselves while being a more successful real estate investing entrepreneur. Apply for mentoring and coaching at joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast. That's joshcantwellcoaching.com/podcast.
And then it's the same thing when people are missing because there's a lot of snow on the ground and the roads are dangerous in February. It's hard to turn those units. And so you got to be very aware of that. Maybe you have a building that's near a school, okay, or a university. Okay, I own 164 units with my buddy Jack Petrick. It's called the Heights Portfolio. It's in Shaker Heights in Cleveland Heights, Ohio. We bought it for $9.2 million. It just appraised for $14.2 million. And so we're excited about that. But during COVID, when that property had a lot of students and a lot of people in the medical field living and staying there, these grad students, these medical students, when COVID hit, they didn't come back to school. So we couldn't bump rents. Like we had some occupancy troubles and a lot more vacancy than we were expecting. Okay. But also now that COVID's gone, we also now have to make sure that we manage that where we know that these leases are all going to come due in basically June, July, August, and September. Okay. Because there's a lot of students that will move in, grad students that will move in August and September. They'll go through medical school or go through nursing school or dental school or whatever it is. And then they'll leave in July. And so we've specifically set that building up so there's a lot of renewals in the summer. Okay. Now, Cherie, who's our property manager of that portfolio, has done an incredible job of raising the income. She's actually raising income by almost $28,000 a month over the last 2 leasing cycles. This past summer and the summer before that, she's raised the income by almost $30,000 a month because she was able to do all these renewals. Okay. And bump the rents, $100 a month, and then bump them again, roughly $100 a month, a little bit more than that. And so that's made an incredible increase in the value of the building. And so we're actually testing that property and putting it on the market. And we're going to see how the market reacts to that property because it's highly occupied, it's highly stabilized, and we refinanced it a couple years ago. We put a loan on it for 3.65%, a long-term loan. And so that's an assumable loan. And so a really great opportunity to buy that property. Buildings right now are probably going to sell for in the 14 to 14.5 million range. And an assumable loan of 9.9 million is the loan. Assume that loan of 9.9 million at 3.65%, knowing that you have these summer leases, the seasonality to deal with. Okay. So there's some real examples of a very niche operational threat. Whereas if you have a lot of leases coming due in the winter, make sure you sign 13, 14, 16-month leases so that over a year or two, you move all those leases into the prime season where the seasonality works in your favor. All right. Well, there you have it, guys. Listen, I appreciate you listening to another solo cast about operational threats to your multifamily deals, your multifamily rent roll. If you enjoyed it, go ahead and smash down on the subscribe button, leave us a rating and a review. I'm always so honored. Every time I get a rating, every time I get a review, I am so honored by that. I'm so excited to get them, and I read them all. And, just every time we get one, I'm like, that's awesome. We're impacting somebody else. We're impacting somebody new who can, really benefit from what we're teaching them and what we're saying. And so I really love the ratings, the reviews every time we get them. So thank you for those. And also, if you are looking to take your business to the next level and you're looking for coaching, mastermind, partnering, and all of the documents that you need to help you in your real estate journey to level up into multifamily and commercial apartments, go visit joshcantwellcoaching.com to apply to be considered for our partnering mastermind and coaching program. And also don't forget to go visit foreverpassiveincome.com. And there you can buy a ticket to our upcoming virtual event. At our virtual events, I teach everything that I need to give you the absolute best foundation to buy your first 100-unit building and acquire your first $10 million of multifamily real estate. All right. So foreverpassiveincome.com, joshcantwellcoaching.com. Don't forget to leave us a rating and review, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much for being here.
You were just listening to the Accelerated Investor Podcast with Josh Cantwell. If you enjoyed this episode and learned something new, help us build the AI community by leaving a review and 5-star rating on our iTunes podcast channel. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. To see passive investing opportunities, visit freelandventures.com/passive. To start your journey toward the lifestyle you've always dreamed of with multifamily apartments, apply for one-on-one coaching with Josh at www.joshcantwellcoaching.com.